The battlefield stranger. The war had ended, but the stars still burned red. Flames floated between the wrecks of fallen ships, lighting up the dead sky like silent ghosts. Eli, a human engineer, walked through the ruins wearing a broken exosuit, his boots crushing metal and ash. He was searching for energy cores, anything useful to take back to the human outpost. He didn't care who had owned these ships, human or alien. Everything was the same color of destruction now. The war between humanity and the Vare Dominion had ended a week ago, but peace never truly came. The battlefield stretched for miles, silent except for the soft crackle of burning hulls. Eli's visor flickered with warnings. Low oxygen, high radiation, unstable ground, but he ignored them. He had seen worse. He had lived through worse. Then he heard it, a sound so faint that he almost thought it was a trick of his mind. A soft cry for help. He froze, scanning the wreckage, his flashlight sweeping over shattered armor and melted metal. The cry came again, weak and desperate. He followed it, stepping over twisted beams until he saw a hand. Slender, silver-skinned, trembling under a fallen piece of hull. He rushed forward, lifting the metal with his suit's remaining power. And beneath it he saw her, an alien woman, her armor glowing faintly with royal symbols, her face pale and blood-covered. Her eyes flickered open, bright violet. Filled with pain and pride, she tried to speak, but blood ran from her lips. Eli knelt beside her, his heart pounding. He had never seen a Vare this close before. They were taller, graceful, their faces almost human, but edged with something otherworldly. Her breathing was shallow, her armor cracked, her side burning with plasma wounds. He knew she would die in minutes if he didn't act. His orders were clear: no help to the enemy. Report any survivors to command. But as he looked into her eyes, he saw fear, not hatred. He muttered, "Damn it," and pulled open his emergency kit. He injected human nanites into her wound, the silver threads of light spreading through her veins, sealing her injuries slowly. The alien flinched, whispering something in her own language, then weakly asked, "Why? Help human?" Eli smiled faintly. "Because you're still alive," he said simply. She stared at him, confused. No human had ever spared a Vare before. He cut away damaged armor and patched her bleeding side. Ignoring his suit alarms, explosions echoed in the distance. Unstable plasma cores going off like dying stars. He had to move her, fast. He lifted her onto his shoulder and started toward the edge of the crater, each step heavy with exhaustion. The wind howled through the broken ships, carrying the smell of burned metal and ion dust. As they reached a half-collapsed corridor, the alien queen stirred again, her hand gripping his arm weakly. He didn't know who she was, but her presence felt powerful. Commanding even now, she whispered, "You risk everything." He replied softly, "Guess I'm not good at following rules." Her eyes closed, but a faint smile touched her lips. Eli carried her until his legs gave out, setting her down in the shadow of a broken starfighter. He checked her pulse, weak but steady. The nanites were working. He activated a beacon flare so rescue drones would spot her, then stepped back. If he stayed, he'd be court-martialed, maybe worse. He looked down at her one last time. This strange alien who had once led armies against his kind. Now lying helpless, he whispered, "You'll live," and turned away, disappearing into the smoke moments later. Faint lights glowed above, alien rescue craft scanning the wreckage. They found her beacon and descended, soldiers rushing to retrieve their wounded queen. As they lifted her aboard, her eyes flickered open for a moment, searching the mist. Through the haze, she saw a human silhouette walking away. Fading into the flames, she tried to speak his name, but she never learned it. Only the sound of his voice echoed in her mind. "Because you're still alive." Before she lost consciousness, she whispered weakly, "Find the human." The medics didn't understand her words, but they recorded them anyway. As the ship rose into the clouds, Eli watched from a distance, unseen, his heart heavy. He didn't know her name, her title, or that she would remember him forever. He only knew that he couldn't leave her to die, even if she was his enemy. The flames dimmed behind him as the alien ship vanished into the sky. Eli turned his back to the stars and walked into the wasteland. Alone, the wind whispered through the wrecks, carrying her faint words one last time. "Find the human." The Queen's oath. The alien queen awoke to the steady hum of her flagship, her body wrapped in medical filaments and light, her vision blurred at first, showing only colors, silver walls, blue healing light, and the soft reflection of her crown resting on a tray nearby. Pain pulsed through her side, but it was dull now, controlled by the strange nanites her doctors couldn't identify. When she tried to move, her guards rushed forward, kneeling before her in panic. "Your Majesty, please rest," one of them said softly. "You were found near death on the battlefield." But Seraphine, Queen of the Vare Dominion, did not listen. Her mind was elsewhere, replaying flashes of memory, fire, metal, and a human face looking down at her with concern. She had seen humans only on battlefields, as enemies ruthless and stubborn, but this one had saved her life, risking his own, defying the war's hatred. She whispered weakly, "Where is the human who found me?" Her guards looked confused, exchanging nervous glances. "Majesty," one said, "no humans were recovered. The area was unstable." "The human must have perished." Seraphine's eyes darkened. But inside her heart something strange stirred, sadness and disbelief. She turned her head away, hiding her emotion. "Leave me," she said quietly, and the guards obeyed, stepping out with bowed heads. The chamber fell silent, broken only by the hum of the ship's engines. Seraphine closed her eyes and let the memory return. The human's rough hands, the calm voice, the warmth she had never felt from her own kind. "Because you're still alive," he had said. Those words burned brighter in her mind than any plasma fire. For the first time, she questioned everything she had believed about humans. If even one of them could show mercy to his enemy, then maybe their entire race was not what her generals claimed. That night she swore an oath only she would know. "If that human still lives, I will find him. I will repay his kindness, even if I must search the stars." Weeks passed, and her wounds healed, but her heart did not. Her council wanted vengeance, demanding a new campaign against humanity to reclaim lost honor. But Seraphine refused. She ordered peace instead. Stunning the galaxy with her command, the council whispered behind her back, saying she had changed since the battle, saying something human had infected her mind. She ignored them, standing before the starlit window of her flagship, gazing at distant constellations. Her reflection looked strong, but her eyes held longing. She whispered to the stars, "Where are you, human?" Far away across the silent rim of human space, Eli worked in a dusty repair bay on a forgotten colony. He had hidden his identity, working as a mechanic fixing old cargo haulers. No one here knew he had once walked through the ashes of a galactic war. No one knew he had saved the enemy queen. Sometimes at night, when the sky was clear, he would sit outside the hangar, looking up at the stars. He didn't know why he thought about her. That alien woman with violet eyes and a voice like music. He told himself it didn't matter, but deep down he knew he had changed too. He had looked into the eyes of his enemy and found something human there. Still, he said nothing, living a quiet life, repairing ships and drinking cheap coffee from metal cups. The world had forgotten the war, and he was content to be forgotten too. Years passed, the galaxy rebuilt, and stories of the Vare Queen's strange mercy spread through the outer sectors. Some said she no longer conquered worlds but protected them. Some said she spared human colonies when her fleets passed nearby. And others whispered that the Queen of Vare was searching for someone, a human who vanished after saving her life. When Seraphine heard these rumors repeated by her own admirals, she said nothing, but her eyes grew soft for a moment. She spent long nights alone watching star maps. Tracing possible human trade routes, she told herself it was only curiosity, but her heart knew it was something more. One night, she dismissed her attendants and entered the private command deck. There, she activated a hidden terminal and opened a file labeled Operation Starborn. Inside was her secret mission, a search directive spanning 50 human colonies. Disguised as trade patrols, the computer asked for confirmation, and she pressed her thumb to the scanner. "Confirming search pattern," said the ship's AI. "Target species human, name unknown," Seraphine whispered softly. "He is not a target, he is hope." The AI did not understand, but it carried out her command. On the other side of the galaxy, Eli worked late into the night, repairing an engine core that refused to ignite. The radio in his workshop crackled, broadcasting news from the galactic net. Breaking report. The Queen of the Vare Dominion has appeared in human space for the first time in 5 years. Eli paused, his hands frozen, his heart suddenly pounding. He turned toward the screen, and there she was, older, regal, her voice calm and powerful. Even through the static, he recognized her eyes. He whispered under his breath, "You survived." The queen on the screen ended her speech with a simple line. The Hunter Fleet. The stars over Earth's frontier colonies began to flicker with strange light. Dozens of alien ships appeared at the edges of human space, their hulls gleaming with royal emblems of the Vare Dominion. The galaxy held its breath for 5 long years. There had been peace, uneasy, fragile, but real. Now the most powerful fleet ever built had crossed into human territory without warning. Governments panicked, sending emergency messages. Was this an invasion or something worse? But only one being in that entire fleet knew the truth. Queen Seraphine had returned, not as a conqueror, but as a seeker. Her flagship, the Radiant Veil, glided silently across the black sea of stars. Inside her throne chamber, she stood before a massive star map, her eyes locked on a small cluster of blue worlds. Her voice was calm but sharp. "Begin the scan, every colony, every settlement, find him." Her admirals exchanged uneasy looks. One finally spoke. "Majesty, the humans will see this as a threat. They will retaliate." She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly with power. "Then they will learn that my search carries no malice." The admiral bowed, whispering, "As you command, my queen." He left quickly, not daring to ask who this human was. The Vare fleet moved like a storm through space, their scanners sweeping through every inhabited zone. Everywhere they went, silence followed. No shots fired, no ships destroyed, only whispers left behind. "Why is the alien queen searching for a single man?" the colonies asked. "Who is this human worth an entire armada?" No one had answers. Only rumors. Some said he was a war criminal. Others said a secret lover. Only Eli knew the truth, and he wished he didn't. On a quiet desert planet called Lyra 9, Eli lived alone on the edge of a small port. He had heard the news, seen the hollow feeds, and felt the chill of destiny coming closer each night. He knew she would come. Every evening he climbed the rusty comm tower near his repair shop and looked at the stars. He could see the faint glimmers of alien fleets moving like blue fireflies against the void. His heart felt heavy, filled with both fear and longing. He whispered to himself, "Why now, Seraphine? Why after all these years?" He still remembered her voice. Her eyes, the way she had said his kind had changed her. But he had run from all of that, because the galaxy didn't forgive kindness between enemies. The next morning, his scanners picked up something strange. A signal, faint, rhythmic, repeating a pattern only he would recognize. It was a code, made from the same nanites he used to heal her. He froze, realizing it was her fleet's tracking pulse. They had found him. He rushed outside, looking at the sky. At first there was nothing but the golden sun and the dry wind. Then the light began to fade as shadows passed over the town. Everyone looked up in silence. Dozens of alien ships were descending through the clouds. Their engines roared like thunder, making the ground tremble. Children ran for cover, alarms blared, and the humans prepared for the worst. But Eli stood still, staring at the massive flagship landing beyond the horizon. He knew who was inside from orbit. Seraphine watched the small planet on her screen. Her heart raced faster than her ships could fly. Her AI spoke. "We have located a life form with human nanite resonance. Probability of match 99.8%. She closed her eyes, whispering, "It's him." Then she gave her final command. "Deploy ground forces, but no weapons, no harm to anyone. We are here in peace." The news spread through every human channel. "Alien queen lands on human colony," reporters screamed. Politicians panicked and soldiers prepared defense lines. But when the alien ramp doors opened, no army marched out. Only the queen herself stepped onto the sand, her armor shining under the twin suns. She carried no weapon, no guards, only a pendant in her hand. The same beacon Eli had left behind on the battlefield 5 years ago. Her voice echoed through the translator system. "To the human who saved my life, and I am not your enemy. I only wish to see you again." Her words broadcast across the entire planet, carried through every radio, every comlink. The world fell silent. Eli stood in the shadows of his workshop, his hands trembling. He could hear her voice through the speakers. He could feel his heart breaking in ways he didn't understand. He had dreamed of this moment, feared it, and now it was real. He looked at his reflection in the cracked glass, older, tired, scarred, and whispered, "You really came." Outside, people gathered, staring at the alien queen standing alone in the sand. Her eyes scanning the horizon, she whispered softly, "Eli," as if the name itself could call him out of hiding. Her voice cracked, filled with something her people had never seen, emotion. Her guards begged her to return, but she refused, saying, "Not until I find him." As night fell, the sky turned purple, and the alien fleet lit the heavens like floating lanterns. Every ship projected the same message in human language. "I am looking for the man who once saved me," people began to whisper, some in awe, others in fear. Some said it was love, others said it was madness, but somewhere in the darkness, Eli watched the lights and whispered back, "I'm right here." He took a deep breath, his heart pounding like a drum, and with trembling hands, he stepped into the open desert. Walking toward the light of her ships, the camera zoomed out slowly, showing the human figure walking beneath the glowing alien fleet, a human and a queen, destined to meet once more under the same stars. The narrator's voice fades in. Sometimes, one act of mercy can change the course of galaxies. The reunion. The twin suns sank behind the dunes as night swallowed the desert world. The alien fleet floated above like silent gods, their hulls glowing with violet light that shimmered across the sand. The colony was quiet now, the people hiding in their homes, afraid to even breathe too loudly. But in the open plains outside the town, one man walked alone, Eli, his face shadowed by the soft glow of the ships, his steps heavy, his heart beating like thunder. He had faced death before, but nothing terrified him like this moment. He had saved her once, and now she had crossed the stars to find him again. He whispered to himself, "I guess running's over." Far above, aboard the radiant veil, Seraphine stood at the viewing deck, her hand pressed against the glass. Her sensors detected movement on the surface. A single human walking toward her landing site. Her breath caught for the first time in years. "Prepare the descent platform," she ordered quietly, and her voice trembled slightly. Her guards objected, "Majesty, it's unsafe." She silenced them with a glance. "No harm will come from the one I seek." Moments later, a beam of light touched the ground and the queen descended in a storm of golden dust. Eli stopped as the sand began to shimmer. From the light stepped Seraphine, her form radiant, her armor flowing like living metal, her crown reflecting the stars. For a long moment neither spoke. Only the wind moved between them, carrying the sound of ancient engines and memories of war. Her eyes met his, the same human eyes she had seen 5 years ago on that burning battlefield. Her voice was soft but filled with power. "You came." He smiled faintly. "You didn't really give me a choice." She took a step closer, her feet barely touching the sand. "I searched the stars for you," she said, her voice trembling like a song on the edge of breaking. "Your people feared me, your governments hid you. But I never stopped." Eli looked down, shaking his head slowly. "You shouldn't have." Her eyes softened. "You saved me, Eli. You changed everything." He sighed. "I didn't save a queen. I saved someone who was dying." She smiled faintly. "And that is why your kind terrifies us." They stood in silence again, the stars flickering like witnesses above. The air between them carried the weight of two worlds. She reached out slowly, her hand trembling. "Do you hate me?" "For what my people did to yours." He looked at her, his voice quiet. "Once, maybe, but not now." Her eyes shimmered, not with royal pride but with something human. "Tears." She whispered, "You don't understand what that day did to me. I saw mercy where I expected death, and I built an empire around that moment." Before Eli could speak, a sharp explosion echoed from the cliffs nearby. A streak of plasma tore through the night sky, striking near the Queen's landing site. Her guards shouted, running forward with weapons drawn. From the shadows emerged a rogue Vair admiral, furious, his armor black and scarred. "Majesty, you have shamed our kind," he roared, bowing before a human. He raised his weapon, aiming directly at Eli. Time seemed to freeze. Seraphine turned. Stepping in front of Eli without hesitation, the blast hit her chest, throwing her backward into his arms. Eli's world went silent, his mind burning with shock and rage. He caught her as she fell, her eyes wide with pain, the smell of burning metal filling the air. The rogue admiral shouted again, "Humans are corruption. They will destroy us." Eli looked up with fire in his eyes. He pulled her emergency field generator from her belt, activating the shield that shimmered around them. Then he dragged her behind the wreck of a shuttle, holding her close. "Stay with me, Seraphine. "Don't you dare give up," he whispered. She smiled weakly. "You saved me." Again. Her blood glowed faintly with the same silver hue of his nanites. He realized the old nanites inside her had bonded with her own biology. Her body was fighting to live, because part of her was now connected to him. The guard subdued the rogue admiral, his armor crushed under a wave of energy from the Queen's command staff. The Star Bond. The galaxy held its breath as two great empires prepared to meet. For centuries, humans and Vaer had faced each other as enemies. Now they gathered under the same stars, not for war but for peace. At the heart of this fragile meeting stood two figures, a human engineer and an alien queen. Eli and Seraphine, the ones who had defied destiny and rewritten it with compassion. Days had passed since the attack on Lyra 9. Seraphine's wounds had healed slowly, her body strengthened by the nanites that once saved her life. When she finally awoke in the medical wing of her flagship, the first thing she saw was Eli sitting nearby, his eyes tired but his expression calm. He smiled faintly. "You just can't stay out of trouble." "Can you?" She laughed weakly. "Neither can you." Human. For a long time they said nothing, just sat in silence. Two souls who had shared both war and mercy. Outside the ship, entire fleets from both sides hovered in cautious formation. Human admirals spoke with alien envoys, translating years of hate into new understanding. The Queen had given a command none of her ancestors would have dared. "All weapons remain offline," she said. "Today we speak, not fight." Her words traveled across every communication channel, and for the first time in living memory, human and alien ships floated side by side without fear. When Seraphine stepped onto the Grand Council platform, the whole galaxy watched. Her voice carried through the halls and across the stars. "Once I saw humanity as a threat," she began, "a force of chaos and defiance, but then a single human chose to save me, and in his mercy, I saw the truth. Strength is not in domination, but in compassion." Her words echoed like thunder, and across the galaxy millions listened in another chamber. Eli watched the broadcast silently, his heart swelling with both pride and sadness. He never wanted fame, never wanted recognition, only peace. When the Queen finished her speech, she turned toward him in the crowd. Their eyes met across the chamber, and for a heartbeat, time itself seemed to pause. Everyone saw the silent exchange between them, but no one spoke. It was a moment that needed no translation. The treaty was signed that day, a pact called the Starbond Accord. It bound humanity and the Vaer Dominion together not by fear but by shared hope. Later, as the celebration faded and the halls grew quiet, Seraphine found Eli alone in the observation deck. He was watching the stars as always. The man who never fit among heroes, she approached him quietly, her armor shimmering in the soft blue light. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. Her voice gentle, Eli shook his head. "No. If I hadn't saved you, the war would have swallowed us all." She smiled faintly. "You speak as if you were born to change fate." He laughed softly. "I was just fixing another broken thing." She looked at him, her expression softening. Then maybe that's what humanity truly is. The fixers of the galaxy. They stood side by side, watching the twin suns rise over the horizon of a peaceful world. Behind them, the alien and human banners waved together for the first time, a symbol of unity born from one impossible act of mercy. Eli turned toward her. "So what now, Queen of the Stars?" She smiled. "Now we rebuild together." He nodded. "Then I guess I've got work to do." Before he could leave, she touched his hand gently. The contact sent a faint glow through both their skin, her nanites and his, resonating in harmony. It was as if the universe itself recognized their bond. She whispered softly, "You will always be part of my story, Eli." He smiled. "And you'll always be part of mine." They stood together as the sun's light wrapped around them, two figures who had defied war, hatred, and time itself from that day forward. Every ship in both fleets carried the same emblem, a human hand and an alien star intertwined, a reminder that even in the coldest corners of space, mercy can light the way. Years later, travelers would tell the legend of the human and the alien queen. They called it the Starbond, the story of how one act of kindness changed an entire galaxy. And whenever someone looked up at the night sky, they could still see the faint glow of two stars orbiting each other endlessly, one blue, one violet, shining together in eternal peace, as if Eli and Seraphine were still out there, watching over the worlds they had united. The narrator's voice closes softly. Filled with awe, in a universe built on war, a single act of compassion became humanity's greatest weapon. And in the eyes of an alien queen, one human showed the stars what it truly meant to be alive.